Marcus gripped the steering wheel of his battered SUV, the wipers slashing futilely against the thickening fog that blanketed the narrow highway through Washington's Olympic Peninsula. It was late autumn, and the air carried that sharp, pine-scented bite that promised rain, or worse, an early sleet. He'd taken this gig on a whim, photographing the skeletal remains of old logging camps for a magazine spread on forgotten histories. The pay was decent, but the real draw was the solitude, a chance to escape the clamor of Seattle and lose himself in the raw beauty of the wild. Or so he thought. The road twisted like a serpent, hemmed in by ancient evergreens that loomed like silent sentinels, their branches heavy with moss that dangled like forgotten veils. Marcus had driven these routes before, but never this late in the day. The sun had dipped below the horizon an hour ago, leaving only a bruised purple glow filtering through the mist. His headlights cut weak beams into the haze, illuminating patches of cracked asphalt and the occasional reflector post that seemed to mock his progress. Just a few more miles to Grayport, he muttered to himself, glancing at the GPS on his dashboard. The signal flickered, 2 bars, then 1, then nothing. Typical for these parts, where cell towers were as rare as clear skies. He'd left the last tiny outpost, a gas station with flickering neon signs, about 40 minutes back. No other cars had passed him since. The isolation didn't bother him usually. It fueled his creativity. But tonight, something felt off. Maybe it was the stories he'd read while researching. Tales of hikers vanishing without a trace, whispers of old native legends about spirits that lured the unwary into the woods. Or perhaps it was the way the fog seemed to press in, muffling the world until all he could hear was the hum of his engine and the rhythmic thump of tires on uneven pavement. Then, without warning, the SUV shuddered. A low grinding noise erupted from under the hood, like metal teeth gnashing on bone. Marcus's stomach lurched. "Come on, not now," he grumbled, easing off the accelerator. The engine coughed again, the dashboard lights flickering as the power steering grew sluggish. He pumped the gas pedal, but it felt like stepping into mud. The engine sputtered one last time, then died with a final defeated wheeze. The SUV rolled to a halt on the shoulder, gravel crunching under the tires as it came to rest beside a steep drop-off into the foggy abyss. Silence crashed in like a wave. Marcus sat there for a moment, his breath fogging the windshield. No traffic noise, no distant horns, just the faint drip of condensation from the trees and the occasional creak of branches in the wind. He tried the ignition, a weak click, then nothing. The battery seemed fine, the interior lights glowed steadily, and his radio hissed static. But the engine was toast. "Great," he sighed, pulling out his phone. 1 bar. He dialed Lena, his editor and closest friend back in the city. She'd chew him out for not getting a newer ride, but she'd also send help. The call connected after 3 rings. "Marcus, you better not be calling to bail on the shoot." "No, worse. My heap just gave up the ghost out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm on Route 101, maybe 20 miles from Grayport. Fog's thick as soup." "Seriously? You and that rust bucket?" "Okay, hang tight. I'll call a tow from here. Might take an hour or 2 in this weather. You got supplies? Water? Snacks?" "Yeah, I'm good. It's creepy out here. No lights, no nothing." She laughed lightly. "Big bad photographer scared of the dark? Stay in the car, doors locked. I'll text you updates if I can get through." They chatted for a minute more, her voice a lifeline in the void. But as they wrapped up, Marcus heard it. A rustle in the underbrush beyond the guardrail. Not the wind. This was deliberate, like footsteps crunching on fallen leaves and twigs. He froze, peering into the fog. Nothing visible, but the sound grew closer, methodical, almost purposeful. An animal? Deer didn't walk like that. This had a 2-legged rhythm. "Lena, hold on! I think something's out there!" "What? Like a bear?" "No, Sounds human. His pulse quickened. He hit the lock button, the clicks echoing too loudly. The rustling stopped, then resumed, nearer now. Through the passenger window, a shape materialized in the mist, a tall cloak in ragged layers that blended with the trees. It wore a mask, crude and unsettling, fashioned from twisted driftwood and strands of kelp, with hollow eyes that gleamed faintly in the dashboard glow. One hand was visible, gnarled and dirt-streaked. The other stayed hidden behind its back. It stood motionless, staring directly at him, and slowly raised 3 fingers in a silent, ominous gesture. Marcus's blood ran cold. "Lena, there's someone here!" And they're not right. The figure stood like a statue carved from the fog itself, its makeshift mask tilting slightly as if appraising Marcus through those dark, empty sockets. The kelp strands dangled limply, dripping with moisture, and the driftwood frame gave it an otherworldly, almost aquatic menace, as if it had crawled from some forgotten tide pool in the nearby coast. Marcus's mind raced through possibilities. A lost hiker? A prankster? But out here, miles from any trailhead, with bare feet sinking into the muddy shoulder? No, this was wrong. Deeply wrong. "Lena, you still there?" He whispered into the phone, his voice barely above a breath. The signal bars dipped precariously. "Yeah, but you're breaking up. What's going on? Who is it?" "It's a person, I think, wearing some kind of weird mask, like wood and seaweed, standing right outside the passenger door, one hand behind their back, hiding something." "Jesus, Marcus, lock the doors. Don't engage. I'm calling the tow right now and maybe the local sheriff. Just stay calm." He double-checked the locks, the mechanical funk reassuring, but hollow in the silence. The figure didn't flinch. Its chest rose and fell in slow, deliberate breaths, visible through the gaps in its tattered coat, patched with what looked like fishing nets and old burlap. No shoes, just calloused feet caked in dirt and pine needles. The temperature hovered around 40 degrees. How was it not freezing? Marcus's imagination spun wild. He'd read about eccentrics in these woods, recluses who shunned society, living off the land. But this felt ritualistic, predatory. The raised 3 fingers held steady like a countdown or a warning. Why 3? 3 minutes? 3 chances? "Hey," he called out tentatively, cracking the window an inch, despite Lena's protests crackling through the speaker. "You okay? Need help?" No response. Just that steady gaze, the mask's hollows reflecting faint blue from his phone screen. A low rasp escaped it, breathing, ragged and intentional, like it was savoring the moment. Marcus's skin crawled. "It's not talking," he murmured to Lena. "Just watching and breathing weird." "Okay, that's freaky. I'm on hold with the tow. Guy says 45 minutes, tops. Hang in there. Describe the mask more. Maybe it's a local thing. Like something washed up from the ocean. Eyes are just holes. Mouth too. Looks handmade. Crude." As if hearing him, the figure lowered one finger. Now 2 remained. Marcus's heart hammered. It just dropped a finger, like counting down. "Counting to what? Marcus, do not get out. Promise me." "I won't. But what if it tries something?" He scanned the car for anything defensive. A heavy tripod in the back seat from his gear, maybe? His eyes flicked to the hidden hand. What was back there? A knife? A club? The uncertainty gnawed at him. Minutes stretched like hours. The fog thickened, swirling around the figure like a cloak. Marcus kept talking to Lena, her voice fading in and out as she relayed updates. Tow en route, sheriff notified but skeptical, probably a vagrant.
The figure's breathing grew heavier, almost excited, a wet rattle through the mask's mouth hole. Then, the second finger dropped. One left. Marcus gripped the wheel, sweat beading despite the chill. "Down to one, Lena. This is bad." "I'm speeding things up. 20 minutes out, max. Just breathe." The figure shifted weight, bare toes flexing in the gravel. Its free hand clenched, then relaxed. Marcus's mind flashed to escape plans. Start walking? But the woods were a labyrinth, and running might provoke it. Stay put, doors locked. That was safer, right? Suddenly, the final finger lowered. At the same instant, the phone beeped, a low battery warning, then dead silence as the call cut. The screen went black, even though he'd charged it fully that morning. Impossible! "No!" he gasped, jabbing at the power button. Nothing. He was utterly cut off. The figure raised its hand again, 3 fingers anew, a fresh countdown, but this time, alone in the dark, with no lifeline. And then from behind the mask, a faint, guttural chuckle echoed like waves crashing on ragged rocks. Marcus's blood turned to ice. He had to act, but how? As he reached for the tripod, headlights pierced the fog from around the bend.
The headlights sliced through the mist like twin blades, illuminating the figure in stark relief for a split second before it melted back into the trees with unnatural grace. Marcus exhaled sharply, his body trembling from the adrenaline dump. The approaching vehicle, a battered pickup, slowed and pulled up behind his SUV. Lena's voice wasn't on the line anymore, but this had to be the tow or help she'd sent. He waited, heart still racing, until a woman in a rain slicker hopped out, flashlight in hand. "You Marcus?" she called, her voice cutting the silence. "Lena sent me. I'm from the garage in Grayport. Name's Carla." Relief flooded him. "Yeah, that's me. Thank God. There was someone here. Just vanished when you showed." Carla scanned the woods with her beam. "Folks out here can be odd. Hop in. We'll hook up your rig and get you to town." As they worked, Marcus pocketed the strange wooden token the figure had dropped. Small, carved with swirling patterns that felt warm to the touch. He didn't mention it. It sounded too crazy. The drive to Grayport was tense, the fog parting just enough to reveal the coastal town's silhouette, weathered docks jutting into a restless sea, clapboard buildings huddled against the wind, and the faint glow of a lighthouse sweeping the horizon. Grayport was a speck on the map, a former fishing hub now clinging to tourism with its haunted history tours. Marcus checked into the Harbor Inn, a creaky 2-story with salt-faded wallpaper and the constant murmur of waves outside. The innkeeper, Mrs. Harlow, a stout woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense bun, handed him a key. "Room 7, breakfast at 8, and watch the tides, they swallow fools." Exhausted but wired, Marcus unpacked his camera gear in the dim room, the token on the nightstand catching his eye. It seemed to pulse faintly, or maybe that was his imagination. Sleep evaded him. Instead, he stepped out for air, wandering the foggy harbor under sodium lamps that cast orange halos. The air was thick with brine and the distant clang of buoys. That's when he spotted her, a young woman perched on a bench, sketching furiously in a worn notebook, a small ferret curled in her lap. She looked up as he approached, her eyes wary under a hood pulled low. Early 20s, he guessed, with tangled auburn hair and a backpack slung nearby, patched and travel-worn. The ferret, sleek with bandit markings, twitched its nose at him. "Nice spot for drawing," he said, casually, nodding at her pad. Sketches of twisted trees and shadowy forms leapt from the page. She shrugged, stroking the ferret. "Clears the head." "You new here?" "Passing through, photographer. Name's Marcus." He sat at the bench's end, keeping distance. "That's a cool pet. What's its name?"
Whisk. He's my lookout." Her voice was soft but edged, like she was measuring every word. Riley, she introduced herself, a runaway artist dodging a bad scene back east. No family ties, just drifting, picking up odd jobs. But her glances over her shoulder betrayed something more: paranoia, fear. As they talked, Mrs. Harlow's words echoed in his mind. Heard stories about people going missing around here, hikers mostly. Riley's pencil paused. It's not just hikers, shadows in the cliffs. They take what they want. She spoke of sea shadows, entities from old sailor yarns luring the lost with whispers. Her mentor, an older artist who had taken her in, had vanished weeks ago after exploring the tidal caves. He said something was watching us, following. Marcus leaned in, intrigued. It mirrored his research, but her tone held raw truth. "You think it's real?" "I know it is." Whisk chittered, nuzzling her. For a moment, vulnerability cracked her facade. Marcus, drawn by his own brush with the unknown, offered to help search the cliffs tomorrow. For photos, he said, but really, to chase the story. As fog rolled in thicker, Riley agreed tentatively, but then Whisk bolted from her lap, scampering toward the dark cliffs with urgent squeaks. "Whisk, wait!" she cried, chasing after. Marcus followed, the token in his pocket growing warmer, as a low whisper rode the wind, like a voice calling from the depths.
Marcus and Riley hurried along the harbor's edge, the fog muting their footsteps on the damp wooden planks. Whisk's lithe form darted ahead, a blur of fur vanishing into the gloom toward the rugged cliffs that rose like jagged teeth from the sea. The air grew heavier, laced with the tang of kelp and the rhythmic crash of waves against the rocks below. Grayport's lights faded behind them, leaving only the intermittent sweep of the lighthouse to pierce the mist. "Whisk, come back, boy," Riley called, her voice tight with worry. She clutched her sketchbook like a shield, her backpack bouncing as she jogged. Marcus kept pace, his camera slung over his shoulder, flashlight app on his phone casting erratic beams. He never runs off like this. Something spooked him. "These cliffs are treacherous," Marcus warned, recalling maps from his research. The area was riddled with old mining shafts from the 1800s, flooded by tides and abandoned after collapses claimed lives. Locals avoided them, spinning yarns of ghosts, or worse, creatures born from the deep, twisted by the sea's secrets. They reached the cliff path, a narrow trail of packed earth and exposed roots snaking upward. Whisk's chitters echoed from ahead, urgent and distressed. Riley pushed on, her breath coming in puffs. "My mentor, Elias, no, wait, his name was Theo. He came here sketching the caves, said the shapes inspired him. Then one night, he didn't come back." Marcus noted the slip, but let it pass. "What do you think happened?" She hesitated, scanning the shadows. He heard whispers, voices mimicking people he knew, luring him in. I thought it was the wind at first, or his imagination, but after he vanished, I started hearing them too, calling my name, promising safety. And now, Whisk. A chill wind whipped up, carrying a faint murmur, like a distant conversation just out of reach. Marcus shook it off as the sea, but doubt crept in. The token in his pocket thrummed warmly, its carvings almost itching against his skin. They crested a rise, the path opening to a viewpoint overlooking black waves churning below. Whisk was there, scratching at a cluster of rocks near a concealed crevice, a cave mouth, half hidden by vines and driftwood. "There!" Riley rushed forward, scooping up the ferret. Whisk squirmed, eyes fixed on the darkness within. "What is it, buddy?" Marcus approached, shining his light inside. The beam revealed slick walls glistening with moisture, etched with faint carvings, swirls, and figures that matched the token's design. "These look old. Native or something else?" She traced one with her finger. "Theo drew these, said they were warnings.
about whisperers, beings that mimic to hunt, from shipwrecks maybe, or deeper. A soft echo bounced from the cave. "Riley, come." It sounded like a man's voice, faint and familiar. "Did you hear that?" Marcus whispered, his pulse spiking. She nodded, face pale. "That's Theo's voice, but it can't be." They backed away, but the whispers grew. Now Marcus's name in Lena's tone. "Marcus, help." Illusion or not, it pulled at him. Deeper conflict stirred. Marcus had lost his brother years ago in a similar wilderness mishap, a hiking trip gone wrong. Guilt had driven him to photography, capturing the untamed to make sense of it. Helping Riley felt like redemption, but doubt nagged. Was this trauma talking or real? A local fisherman emerged from the fog lower on the path, lantern swinging. "You folks lost? Caves ain't safe. Tides rise fast, and things down there best left alone." "What things?" Marcus pressed. The man eyed them warily. Old miners talked of shadows that steal voices, eat the lost. Stick to the town. As he shuffled off, Riley shivered. "We should go back." But Whisk wriggled free again, bolting into the cave. "No!" Riley lunged after, vanishing into the dark. Marcus cursed, following as a growl, low and unnatural, rumbled from within, the fog sealing the entrance like a shroud.
The cave's entrance swallowed Marcus whole, the fog outside muffling to a distant hum as he plunged into the damp chill. His phone's flashlight beam danced across uneven walls, revealing rivulets of water trickling like veins and the faint glitter of quartz veins in the rock. The air was thick, tasting of salt and decay, with each breath pulling in the essence of forgotten depths. Riley's footsteps echoed ahead, frantic calls for Whisk blending with the drip-drip of condensation. "Riley, wait up! It's not safe!" Marcus shouted, his voice bouncing off the stone in distorted waves. The path sloped downward, the ground turning slick with algae and pooled seawater. Tides. He remembered the fisherman's warning. High tide could flood this in minutes. She paused, her silhouette flickering in his light. "I can't leave him. He's all I have." They pressed on, the cave widening into a labyrinth of chambers connected by narrow passages. Bioluminescent fungi clung to the ceilings, casting an eerie green glow that made shadows twist like living things. Marcus's mind flashed to his brother, lost in a canyon flash flood, screams cut short by rushing water. He couldn't let that happen again. A chitter echoed. Whisk. They followed, entering a larger cavern where stalactites hung like fangs. There, perched on a rock, was the ferret, eyes wide. Riley scooped him up, but as she did, a whisper slithered through the air. "Riley, stay with me." It was Theo's voice, clear now, coming from a side tunnel, but twisted, laced with a gurgle like drowning. "That's not him," Marcus said, gripping her arm. "It's mimicking, like you said." Tears streaked her face. "But what if it is? What if he's alive?" The token burned hot in his pocket. Pulling it out, he saw its carvings glow faintly, matching symbols on the walls. Warnings, perhaps, of the entity. A new dread built. What if his encounter with the masked figure was connected? A guardian, testing intruders. They edged toward the sound, the ground squelching underfoot. The whispers multiplied, Lena's voice calling Marcus, his brothers pleading for help. Psychological warfare, or something more sinister? The air grew colder, the bioluminescence dimming. Then movement, a shadow elongated across the wall, tall and sinuous, with limbs that bent unnaturally.
It dropped to all fours, scruddling like a crab, but larger, its skin slick and iridescent, webbed feet slapping the wet stone. Eyes gleamed, multiple, reflective like a deep-sea fish. Riley gasped, "That's it! The Whisperer!" The creature paused, head cocking, and emitted a perfect mimic. "Marcus, come closer." He raised his camera, flash popping. It recoiled, hissing, revealing a maw of needle teeth and tendrils like jellyfish stingers. Not fully animal, almost humanoid. Mutated, perhaps, from toxic spills or ancient curses. It lunged, but Marcus dodged, slamming into a stalagmite. "Run!" he yelled. They bolted, but a tremor shook the cave, a partial collapse, rocks tumbling. Riley screamed as debris separated them, her light vanishing in the dust. "Riley!" Marcus clawed through, hearing her cries echo, cornered by the thing's advancing growls.
Dust settled in choking clouds as Marcus shoved aside fallen rocks, his hand scraped raw against the sharp edges. The cavern's glow flickered erratically, casting monstrous shadows that danced like specters. Riley's screams pierced the haze, raw, terrified, mingled with Whisk's frantic squeaks and the creature's guttural hisses. Water lapped higher now, the tide creeping in with insidious patience, turning the floor into a treacherous slurry. "I'm coming," Marcus yelled, his voice hoarse. He squeezed through the gap, emerging into a flooded chamber where Riley huddled on a raised ledge, Whisk clutched to her chest. The creature loomed over her, its elongated form towering on hind legs, nearly 7 feet, body gaunt and covered in mottled, scaled skin that shimmered like oil on water. Webbed claws flexed, and its face, a nightmare of slits and orifices, no true eyes but clusters of bioluminescent orbs that pulsed with hunger. A tendril whipped out, mimicking her voice perfectly. "Help me, please!" Riley swung her sketchbook wildly, but it was futile. Marcus charged, camera flashing in rapid bursts. The light stunned it, the creature shrieking, a sound like tearing metal underwater as it dropped to all fours and retreated behind a column. "Over here!" Marcus grabbed her hand, pulling her toward a side passage. But the water surged, knee-deep now, pulling at their legs with cold fingers. "It's not just an animal," Riley gasped as they ran. "Theo, he found artifacts down here, old shipwreck stuff. He thought they were art, but they woke it. It's protecting something, or corrupted by it." The token in Marcus's grip blazed hot, illuminating runes on the walls, depictions of sailors offering tributes to sea beings. A twist unraveled. This wasn't random. The creature was a guardian spirit, warped by industrial runoff from old mines, now a vengeful predator stealing voices to lure prey. Footsteps, human ones, echoed from ahead. The masked figure from the road emerged, Elias, his driftwood and kelp visage grotesque in the glow. He raised a hand, not in threat, but warning. In the other, the hidden object revealed, a harpoon-like staff etched with matching runes. "You!" Marcus breathed. "What are you?" Elias removed the mask slowly, revealing a weathered face scarred by salt and time. "Keeper," he rasped, voice like grinding gravel. "Tested you on the road, saw if you'd flee or fight. This thing, my curse, shipwreck survivor, bonded to it long ago. It takes the lost. I ward the land." Twist deepened. Elias had been counting down not to attack, but to summon strength, dropping the token as a beacon. He had followed, knowing the caves called victims. The creature reappeared, lunging at Elias.
He thrust the staff, piercing its side. Black ichor spewed. "Run! Flood the chamber! Return its heart!" Riley spotted it, a glowing artifact amid bones on a pedestal, the source of corruption. As Elias battled, holding the beast at bay, Marcus and Riley dashed for it. The creature broke free, slamming Elias against the wall. He slumped, staff clattering. "No!" Marcus grabbed it, harpooning the artifact. A wail erupted, the creature convulsing as water roared in. They fled, Elias's sacrifice buying time. The beast weakened, retreating into depths, but not destroyed. Surfacing, gasping into the night air, Marcus clutched the shattered artifact pieces, but the token pulsed once more, whispering faintly. The threat appeased, yet lingering. The night air hit like a slap as Marcus and Riley stumbled from the cave's maw, waves crashing below in furious applause. Grayport's lights twinkled, distantly, a beacon of normalcy amid the chaos. Whisk wriggled in Riley's arms, unharmed but subdued, as if sensing the ordeal's end. They collapsed on the cliff path, breaths ragged, clothes sodden and torn. The fog began to lift, stars peeking through like hesitant witnesses. We made it," Riley whispered, staring at the sea. "But Elias—" Marcus nodded grimly, the staff now inert in his grip. Elias's body hadn't surfaced with the tide, perhaps claimed by the depths he guarded. The artifact fragments in his pocket felt cold, their power broken. "He saved us, said it was his curse. Maybe now he's free." Back in town, Mrs. Harlow waited at the inn, her sharp eyes softening at their state. "Saw the signs. Caves took another?" She offered hot tea and dry clothes, revealing her own loss, a husband vanished years ago. With her help, they pieced together the lore. The creature, once a protective spirit, twisted by pollutants dumped in the mines. Returning the artifact, shattering it, appeased it, restoring balance. No police report. Who'd believe? Riley's arc closed with resolve. "I'm done running. Theo's gone, but I can honor him. Sketch the truth, warn others." Marcus, confronting his brother's ghost, vowed to publish the photos, blurred flashes of the entity, carvings, Elias's mask. Proof or art? Either way, redemption. Days later, Riley boarded a bus north to an artist's colony. Months on, a postcard arrived. No words, just a coastal sketch with swirling shadows. Marcus smiled. She was safe. But as Marcus drove from Grayport, the rearview mirror caught a glint, a distant figure on the cliffs, masked anew. Cycles continued. Guardians rose again. The mists faded, but whispers lingered.